Hello, and thank you for joining us for this month's Academy Now webinar. Today we're talking about trends for 2026 in the kitchen and bath industry. I'll be pulling a lot from the NKBA, National Kitchen and Bath Association Trends Report, and also throwing in some of our own insights here at Decor, and I'll be doing a lot of comparing to 2024 trends as well. Something that I found that was interesting with the trends report this year was how they talked about trend life cycles. And I think this is a really important concept to consider when thinking about new trends for 2026. Where are your clients at right now? Trends come from a state of emergence to growth, and then they are adopted into the mainstream. And then after that, they experience a decline. So thinking about where your clients are, if they're ready to adopt new trends, or if they prefer to wait a little bit until things become more mainstream. This will determine when you're going to start implementing some of these new trends. And that's why I wanted to compare these trends for 2026 with some of the trends we saw predicted in 2024 moving into 2025, just to see how much of what was predicted is actually implemented this year. And then we can start to predict in 2026 what's actually going to be requested in people's kitchens. So some general trends we're seeing for 2026 is breaking things down a little bit by generation. So for Gen Z, they're going to be prioritizing style and bringing their home into current trends. So maybe they've just purchased their first home. With the price of everything these days, I'm sure it might be a fixer-upper, or maybe they just want it to be a little more trendy than what they've purchased it as. So they're looking to bring their home up to today's trends. Millennials are looking to prioritize family function and increasing space for hosting. So thinking about where people are at their different stages of life is very interesting as far as generational trends go, and I really appreciated them including that in the report. So Gen X prioritizes home value and function for multi-generational families, depending on what your family structure looks like. Are you hosting large family gatherings? Are you moving your grandparents in to live with you or your parents? Gen X also is going to prioritize home value because they might be looking ahead to the future and wanting to start preparing for when they are ready to sell their home. So if they've been living in their family home for a while, this is the point where they're going to make an investment renovation. And then any generation in the boomer generation and up is going to prioritize living in place. And I think this is something maybe we should all start focusing on a little more. How can we make home and renovation changes that will last? If you are following along live with the webinar right now, let us know in the chat, what trends are you seeing for 2026 and what are you excited for maybe to implement in your designs? I'd love to know what you guys are thinking as well. So thinking back to the concept of trends going through different stages, I think the NKBA did a great job with this chart of splitting trends up between if they're at a state of mass appeal and if they're going to appeal to many, or if they're kind of more of a niche appeal. Some of the key trends you're going to want to look for as far as a longevity standpoint is trends that have a mass appeal are going to be a little bit more timeless, whereas things that are a little more niche may not appeal to the broader audience. So it's something to think about when designing for clients, like who is this person, what are they looking for? For example, the concept of the kitchen setting the tone in design, that's very widely adopted per se for many people. Something like eco-friendly practices or commercial grade appliances, those are going to be more niche appeal trends or additions to a kitchen renovation. So I like the way they broke that chart down so you can start thinking about where in the trend cycle these things are and who is your client and who is going to actually want to implement these trends into their kitchen. It's really fun to think about all of the trend options, but you have to kind of break that down and see who's your client and where are they at in their life and what's going to make sense for them. Moving into 2026 kitchen style predictions, so we're looking at the kitchen styles as a whole. Transitional kitchens by far are going to continue to be what's most popular. We did see an increase from the 2024 report, but one thing I noticed that was interesting is craftsman kitchens jumped up quite a few spots here in this style predictions charts from 15% to 24%. So we're seeing, I think that would include like maximalist wallpaper, rich tones. I think that would suit the craftsman style really well. And then we had a new trend here as well. A new style trend was the Art Deco style coming in as well for 2026, which wasn't found on the 2024 report. So that will be something that's emerging, very new. And you can see the breakdown here. We'll put that up on the screen. You can kind of take a look. Moving on to kitchen color predictions for 2026, neutrals by far are the popular trend for 2026. And I think we saw this as well in previous years. The shift towards warmer neutrals, light browns, even some dark browns, grays shades, those are going to be continuing to be popular. Other kitchen color trends that are going to dominate in 2026 are blues, greens, sage, olive tones, navy. Those are the other popular colors that we're going to see continuing into 2026. And this was something that was predicted as well in the 2024 report. Green was the most popular color other than wood and neutral tones, and blue was also climbing. Yellows, reds, more warm tones were starting to emerge, but now we're seeing those as well pick up steam and become more popular for 2026. I think we've seen a lot of since 2024. The things that were new and emerging in 2024 have become staples and are just moving more into the mainstream for 2026, whereas the things that weren't on the 2024 report are emerging and are becoming really forward-thinking in 2026, and we'll see that with a few other trends that we'll talk about. Something that we've seen change based on the NKBA report for 2026 is the design layouts and features. What are people looking for? Lifestyle enhancements have been a huge new trend that has come up. People really want dedicated beverage areas, pet feeding stations, eat-in kitchen areas, and cozy conversation areas. These things that really make your home feel intuitive and functional, rather than having really decorative, fancy features for the sake of having them. Something that's personalized, functional for your family. Something that was in the 2024 report that I think is becoming more of a staple in people's kitchens are coffee stations and appliance garages. That was something that started to come to trend, but now I think is going to become more of a staple, as this is dictated by our culture. Gathering, having people over, entertaining. Coffee's part of a lot of people's everyday life, so really incorporating those lifestyle improvements into your home is going to be on trend for 2026. Another lifestyle enhancement would be an office space or a dedicated sit-down planning area in your kitchen. This was popular, I remember, in my parents' previous houses growing up. There was like always a little dedicated office space, and I think this is becoming more popular as people work from home more. We want your kitchen to be dynamic and multifunctional, so having your children work on the computer while you're cooking dinner is something that brings the family together and is a natural part of the everyday rhythm. I have a picture here we'll flip to with a really cute but modern office station, and then a little pet feeding station as well that matches the rest of the finishes of your home. So whether you have pets, kids, whatever your lifestyle looks like, how do you integrate that into the design so your pet food bowls don't feel like an afterthought, but they're intentionally integrated into the design? Something that I think we all can agree is that our lives heavily rely on electronics, iPads, phones, laptops. Those are part of our everyday life. So let's integrate that into our kitchens and other spaces using cabinetry, integrated plug-ins, charging stations, having those things handy and planned into a design, because we all know we all have phones, we all have laptops. Let's find a place to put them. These lifestyle enhancements will prevent you from having all of your electronics just spread across a countertop all the time, and really makes an intentional choice to let's bring them into the design. I don't think they're going anywhere. Some of the larger trends for 2026 really encompass the idea of personalized function. So for example, I have a picture here of an eat-in area, a little breakfast nook that has the plates and table mats in a little drawer underneath the seating bench. Having the dishes right in that eating area then allows you to easily pick them up and set the table. rather than walking around your entire kitchen. These little touches are what's going to make a kitchen feel elevated because it's easy to use and feels really personalized to your workflow, the way you live your life. Other 2026 trends that seem to be broad across the board are flexible open space. We're seeing many different ways of life happen in the same space. So how do we design for many purposes? There's also a demand for clever features. I think this is going that step above, whereas in 2024, something like a tip-on would have been really innovative. Now we're saying, let's not just put that tip-on in, let's make it in a spot that makes sense. So clever, custom, intuitive design over maybe we're just putting in cool features for the sake of having them. Maintaining healthy lifestyles. How do we incorporate food and health into the design? Wellness-based design is also a large trend. And big impact and simplicity over details and ornamentation. So we're seeing large format tiles in a really beautiful pattern, really gorgeous materials implemented in a high impact way, but in a simple door profile. With all of these clever lifestyle enhancements in design and improvements to make life easier, of course, minimal upkeep and things that are easy to clean are going to dominate in 2026 as well. These simple but intuitive enhancements for the home are going to signal luxury more than a very elaborate, detailed, extravagant-looking design might. The ease and flexibility of life is going to be what signals luxury for people rather than something that's really ornate and detailed and what would traditionally signal luxury. Moving into kitchen cabinet predictions for 2026. This is where we're really going to be interested to see where things go. Being a cabinet manufacturer, we're seeing clients looking for improved usability in their cabinets. So again, charging stations inside the cabinets. Is there a way for this to be more functional, more intuitive? We're not running around our kitchen. There was a video I saw online of an architect, I believe, opening his dishwasher and opening up all the drawers and cabinets at the same time and unloading his dishwasher without having to take a simple step. And I think that is the sort of thing we're gonna want to continue to see is increased usability, increased functionality, and that intuitive ease. And I think that's actually harder to design for, and I think that's going to be a challenge for us in the next few coming years. Clients increasingly want a kitchen customized to fit their personal cooking needs. So depending on what style of cuisine you like to cook, or if you're cooking for one or for many, how does your kitchen and your lifestyle reflect the way you actually are going to use it? We're seeing a lot more mixed materials. We're not just choosing one material. We're seeing a lot of different materials gaining popularity. We're also seeing open shelving potentially falling out of favor a little bit, with many homeowners opting instead for enclosed storage to minimize visual clutter. However, in 2024, we predicted that open visible storage was going to be really popular. So it's funny how in a couple short years, we've seen a bit of a shift. However, in the 2026 report, we also saw that fewer upper cabinets are going to be used in the next 3 years. So what does this look like? And where is open shelving going to be used, and where are we going to be pulling back? We've seen a range of projects where open shelving is used very heavily, or maybe it's just a small accent, and I think application of open shelving is going to be important as well. Thoughtfully used open shelving near somewhere where you reach for often will be preferred to maybe an entire wall of open shelves. Full height cabinets are also going to be popular, and also thinking about the flexible space. Maybe it's sliding doors where you can have them closed or open depending on your needs and the time of day, or if you're currently using them or not. Something more flexible than either open or closed. I just found it interesting that in the same report we can have fewer upper cabinets and fewer open shelves, and starting to think about how is this going to change and what is this going to look like in the next 3 years. We are seeing an increased popularity of floor-to-ceiling cabinetry, So is that what's going to replace upper cabinets? Are we looking for just more clean open space altogether, no visual clutter at all? I think something that would be interesting is sliding cabinet doors with like a large wood panel or glass, something that can be pushed off and moved to the side that's transitional, flexible space. They can be closed or open. Moving into cabinet appearance and finishes, some predictions for 2026 is that wood grain, painted surfaces, and floor-to-ceiling cabinets with European doors are going to be in demand. I think this language in demand is very interesting, kind of signaling that this is becoming more mainstream, whereas in the 2024 NKBA report, wood grain, painted surfaces, and textured woods was going to be popular. They use the language of become popular. So we see that increased focus here, whereas it was just kind of coming up into trend. Now it's in demand. So I think this is just really honing in on these trends that are here and are becoming more of a staple in everyday kitchens. Overall kitchen cabinet trends for 2026 we're seeing, especially in wood kitchens, is white oak and walnut is expected to grow in popularity, again with that flat panel door front and leaning towards a more transitional or European contemporary design. Overall, some of the aesthetic trends that we're seeing in 2026 are simple structures with high-end materials, statement curves and stone, intentional arches, curves, rounded elements. We're seeing accessible shelving, but used in intentional ways. Saturated colors, warm and cozy interiors, wood cabinets, these are all going to become more popular in 2026. And continuing from 2025 and some of the previous years, two-tone cabinets and mixed materials are going to continue to be popular and used in design in 2026. So we just went over a bunch of different trends. What does that look like in application? So I have a few photos here that we can go over and take a look at, see what are the themes here. I think rich browns, especially in a color drenching application, is going to be popular. Large format tiles, large slabs of stone for that high impact luxury design with that high end but simple material. Floor to ceiling cabinets are going to be popular with minimal hardware, minimal door style. Walnut kitchens may be accented with some white, some olive tile, and of course white oak kitchens as well. With transitional style being a major trend continuing into 2026, we're seeing those materials like walnut and white oak used in many different kitchen styles. For example, contemporary design with flat front or slab cabinet doors. We're also seeing shaker cabinets with these materials as well for a more transitional look, implementing some arches in doorways or in range hoods that are curved. We can also see these trends being implemented in pantries and butlers' kitchens. Here are a couple of photos that are quite opposite. One leans a lot more transitional, and then the other one is a lot more organic, modern, contemporary. I think this blue kitchen example was very interesting to me because it features some contemporary elements, but upon first glance, it looks very traditional. So I think it's exciting to see those traditional elements come into a more easy to use, clean lined application. On the other hand, the organic modern look, we're seeing a lot of neutral colors, stone, and it's a little less accessible, but it's still very simple. On the other side of the spectrum, moving away from simplicity and that timeless sort of aesthetic, we're leaning into the cottage, cozy, a little more eclectic style. These two inspirational photos are interesting because they're warm and cozy, but still feel 2025, 2026. We're not going back in time, but reimagining these trends. In many articles I've read on 2026 trends and things that are evolving in the kitchen design industry are eat-in, like cozy eat-in areas, no matter the size of the kitchen. This photo on the right here, I was really surprised to see a couch near the dining room table. I thought that was it took me by surprise. I was like, why would anyone want to do that? But if we're thinking about how we use the kitchen, and if we know that open concept spaces have been really popular, having your kitchen right beside your living room, maybe this makes sense. If your teenager loves to lounge with you while you're sitting at the dining room table, let's put a love seat in there. I think they've done it quite well, but in this photo for inspiration, but I'm not sure how that would work. But this cozy feeling maybe can be achieved with a bench seat in an eat-in area, or maybe using upholstered furniture along with a beautiful dining room table. So not sure how that will continue to evolve this coming year, but I thought that inspiration photo was quite interesting. So that's all for this Academy Now webinar. Thank you guys for joining me while we discuss 2026 kitchen and cabinet trends. If you would like to receive this presentation, just let me know in the chat. I might just send it out to all of you if that's easier. But I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to fill out the survey that you'll receive in your email, and have a great day.